February 14th, 2025, 2:47 p.m. A street camera on West 23rd Street in Manhattan captures a couple standing on the sidewalk outside a Starbucks. The woman is Emma Hartwell, 34 years old, graphic designer. She's wearing a gray coat, jeans, boots. Her dark hair is pulled back in a ponytail. She's standing with her arms crossed. Defensive body language. The man facing her is Marcus Reed, 36 years old, works as a mechanic at an auto repair shop in Queens. He's holding a single pink rose, Valentine's Day gift. He's trying to hand it to her. She's refusing to take it. The camera has no audio, but their body language tells the story. Marcus is talking, gesturing with his free hand, pleading. Emma is shaking her head, not listening, not engaging. She's done with this conversation. Marcus keeps talking, keeps trying. Emma holds up her hand, says something. The camera angle shows her mouth moving. Later, when investigators enhance the footage and bring in a lip reader, they'll determine she said, "You're done talking." She turns, walks away, doesn't look back. Marcus stands there, watching her leave, still holding the pink rose. Then he drops it, lets it fall onto the sidewalk, turns in the opposite direction, walks away. The camera captures them going in opposite directions. Emma heading east toward Madison Avenue, Marcus heading west toward 7th Avenue, both disappearing from frame within seconds. That's the last time Emma Hartwell is seen alive on any surveillance system. 3 hours later, at 5:52 p.m., Emma's cell phone pings off a tower in Red Hook, Brooklyn, 11 miles from where she was last seen in Manhattan. The phone stays in that area for approximately 40 minutes. Then it goes dark, powered off, or destroyed. Either way, it never connects to a cell tower again. 6 days later, on February 20th, Emma's body is discovered in an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook, the same neighborhood where her phone had pinged. She's been deceased for approximately 5 days based on decomposition and ambient temperature. Cause of death is determined by the medical examiner as blunt force trauma to the head. She was struck multiple times with a heavy object. The object was never recovered. And here's the detail that made every investigator immediately focus on Marcus Reed. Next to Emma's hand, deliberately placed, was a pink rose, just like the one Marcus had tried to give her on Valentine's Day, just like the one he'd dropped on the sidewalk when she walked away. This is the story of how Emma Hartwell tried to do everything right, how she broke up with Marcus in public, how she took precautions, how she thought she was being safe, and how someone else was watching. Someone who saw an opportunity, someone who used Marcus as the perfect cover for murder. Emma Hartwell was born in Portland, Oregon in 1991. She was an only child. Her father was an engineer. Her mother was a teacher. They were a close family, supportive, loving. Emma was creative from a young age, loved art, loved design, studied graphic design at Portland State University, graduated in 2013. She moved to New York in 2015. Got a job at a design agency in Manhattan, worked her way up. By 2024, she was a senior designer, well-respected, talented, making good money, living in a one-bedroom apartment in Chelsea, living the life she dreamed about when she was in college in Portland. Emma was social, had a solid friend group, went to gallery openings, tried new restaurants, dated casually but nothing serious until she met Marcus Reed in June 2024. They met at a car repair shop. Emma's car had been making a strange noise. She'd taken it to the shop where Marcus worked. He diagnosed the problem, fixed it, been friendly, charming, asked for her number. She'd given it to him. They started dating. Casual at first. Coffee, dinner, movies. Marcus seemed nice, attentive, interested in her life, her work, her friends. By August, they were in a relationship. Exclusive. Spending weekends together, meeting each other's friends. But by November, Emma was noticing red flags. Marcus was becoming possessive, checking her phone, asking where she'd been, who she'd been with, getting upset if she spent time with friends without him, accusing her of being interested in other men, creating arguments out of nothing. Emma's friends noticed too, told her Marcus was controlling, that his behavior wasn't normal, that she should consider ending the relationship. Emma agreed. She could see it herself. The relationship wasn't healthy. She needed to end it. But she was scared. Marcus had started showing up at her apartment unannounced. Had shown up at her workplace once, made her uncomfortable. She was worried about how he'd react to a breakup, so she planned it carefully. She decided to break up with him in public, somewhere with people around, somewhere safe. She chose the Starbucks on West 23rd. Busy area, lots of foot traffic, public space. She texted Marcus on February 13th, asked him to meet her there on Valentine's Day at 2:30 p.m. Didn't tell him why, just said they needed to talk. Marcus showed up with the pink rose, thinking maybe she wanted to do something special for Valentine's Day. Emma told him it was over, that she didn't want to see him anymore, that he needed to stop showing up at her apartment, stop calling constantly, stop trying to control her life. She was done. Marcus didn't take it well, started arguing, saying she was overreacting, that he just cared about her, that he could change. Emma held firm, said her decision was final, told him he was done talking, walked away, left him standing there with his rose. That was 2:47 p.m., Emma's last confirmed sighting alive. When Emma's body was discovered on February 20th, detectives immediately pulled the February 14th CCTV footage, saw the breakup, saw Marcus with the rose, saw Emma walk away, saw Marcus drop the rose, and when they learned a pink rose had been found next to Emma's body, Marcus became their primary suspect. They brought Marcus in for questioning on February 21st, asked about his relationship with Emma, about the breakup, about the rose. Marcus admitted everything. Yes, he'd been dating Emma. Yes, she'd broken up with him on Valentine's Day. Yes, he'd brought her a rose. Yes, he'd been upset when she ended things. But no, he didn't hurt her. He went back to work after the breakup, stayed there until closing, went home, never went to Brooklyn, never saw Emma again after she walked away on West 23rd Street. Detectives were skeptical. The rose next to her body seemed too specific, too deliberate. Marcus had motive, rejected boyfriend, Valentine's Day breakup, public humiliation, classic scenario. But Marcus had something detectives didn't expect, an alibi. A solid, verifiable, unbreakable alibi. After Emma walked away on February 14th, Marcus had returned to work, the auto shop in Queens where he was employed. He'd arrived back at 3:15 p.m., clocked in, worked until 8 p.m. 12 co-workers confirmed he was there the entire time, never left, was working on cars, in plain sight. No opportunity to drive to Brooklyn, no opportunity to harm Emma. Security cameras at the auto shop confirmed it, showed Marcus arriving at 3:15 p.m., showed him working, showed him leaving at 8:02 p.m. Continuous footage, no gaps. He was accounted for during the critical time window when Emma's phone pinged in Red Hook. Detectives verified everything, interviewed all 12 co-workers individually, reviewed all security footage, checked Marcus's phone GPS data. He'd been in Queens the entire evening, never went to Brooklyn. His alibi was airtight. So if Marcus didn't kill Emma, who did? And why was there a pink rose next to her body? Detectives expanded the investigation. They pulled Emma's phone records, wanted to see who she'd been in contact with, who she'd called, who'd called her, looking for leads, looking for suspects. They found something unexpected. Emma's regular phone showed normal activity. Calls to friends, calls to family, work-related calls, nothing suspicious. But her cell carrier showed something else. 6 weeks before her death, Emma had activated a second phone, a prepaid burner phone. Different number, different device. That burner phone had made 33 calls over those 6 weeks, all to the same number. Another burner phone, also prepaid, also untraceable. The calls were always late at night, always lasting between 5 and 20 minutes. The most recent call was on February 13th, the day before Emma broke up with Marcus. Detectives tried to trace both numbers. Dead ends. Prepaid phones bought with cash, activated with fake information. No way to identify the other person. But the pattern was clear. Emma was talking to someone regularly, someone she didn't want anyone to know about, someone who also didn't want to be identified. Who was on the other end of those calls? And did that person have something to do with Emma's murder? Detectives got a warrant to search Emma's apartment. They were looking for the burner phone, for any evidence of who she'd been talking to, for anything that might explain what happened to her. They found the burner phone hidden in her bedroom closet, wrapped in a sock, tucked in a shoebox. They also found something else, something that changed the entire investigation. Inside Emma's smoke detector, mounted on the ceiling in her bedroom, was a hidden camera. Small, wireless, motion-activated. It had been recording Emma for 3 weeks, from February 1st until February 21st, the day after her body was discovered. Someone had installed this camera without Emma's knowledge, had been watching her, recording her, invading her privacy. The camera had an SD card. Detectives recovered it, reviewed the footage, hours and hours of video. Emma sleeping, Emma getting dressed, Emma in her bedroom, private moments, intimate moments, all recorded without her consent. And here's what made detectives' blood run cold. The footage showed Emma making those late-night calls on the burner phone, showed her pacing in her bedroom, looking worried, looking scared, talking to someone. The camera had no audio, but her expressions were clear. She was afraid of something, or someone. The last footage on the SD card was from February 21st. Someone had entered Emma's apartment that day, while police were still processing the warehouse where her body was found, had walked directly to the smoke detector, had removed the camera, had taken the SD card, had replaced it with a blank one. But they'd made a mistake. They'd put the camera back slightly wrong, not aligned properly. When detectives examined the smoke detector, they'd noticed it looked tampered with. That's why they'd checked it. That's how they'd found the camera. And when digital forensics examined the camera, they found something on the internal memory. Footage that had been automatically backed up, not the full recordings. Just thumbnails, snapshots taken every few minutes. And in those thumbnails, detectives saw something crucial. On February 14th at 2:15 p.m., 30 minutes before Emma met Marcus for the breakup, someone was in Emma's apartment. A figure visible in one of the thumbnails, wearing dark clothing, a hood, face not visible, but present in her apartment, in her bedroom, standing near her closet. Someone had been in Emma's apartment while she was out, had been there right before she broke up with Marcus. And based on the timeline, that same person had taken the SD card on February 21st. Before we continue with how investigators connected these pieces and what they discovered about Emma's secret calls, if cases like this matter to you, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. We cover real investigations, real evidence, real cases. Hit like if you think Emma's story deserves justice. Comment your thoughts, because this case remains unsolved. And what investigators found next suggests Emma knew she was in danger. She just didn't know who from. Detectives now had a working theory. Someone had installed the hidden camera in Emma's apartment, had been watching her for weeks. Emma had somehow discovered this, had bought the burner phone to communicate with someone about it, someone she thought could help. But that helper was actually her stalker. And when Emma broke up with Marcus publicly, creating a clear suspect, that stalker saw an opportunity. The timeline supported this. The hidden camera was installed around February 1st. Emma bought the burner phone on January 3rd, 6 weeks before her death. That meant she'd had the burner phone before the camera was installed. So she wasn't using it to report the camera, she was using it for something else. Detectives went back through Emma's life, her work, her social circles, her online presence, looking for anyone who might have had access to her apartment, anyone who might have had reason to surveil her. They interviewed Emma's building super, asked who had keys to apartments, who could access units. The super explained that he had master keys, management company had copies, and residents could give copies to anyone they wanted. Emma had lived there for 2 years, could have given keys to friends, to Marcus, to anyone. They asked Marcus if he'd ever had a key to Emma's apartment. He said yes. She'd given him one in September, but he'd given it back when she broke up with him. Mailed it to her apartment on February 15th, the day after the breakup. Detectives verified this, found the key in Emma's mailbox. Never retrieved because she was already missing by then. They interviewed Emma's friends, asked if anyone had keys. 2 friends said yes. They'd had keys at various times, for emergencies, to water plants when Emma traveled, but both had given them back. Neither had recent access to the apartment. They checked building security footage, wanted to see who'd been entering Emma's apartment in the weeks before her death. Found footage of Emma coming and going. Marcus visiting a few times in January before the breakup. A few friends visiting. but no one suspicious. No one who stood out. Except, on January 28th, 4 days before the camera was installed, building cameras showed a person in maintenance coveralls entering the building, carrying tools, looking like they belonged. The person went up to the 3rd floor, where Emma's apartment was located, stayed for approximately 40 minutes, then left, face never visible, hood up, head down, deliberate avoidance of cameras. Building management confirmed they hadn't sent any maintenance workers that day. No repairs scheduled, no work orders. Whoever that person was, they'd used the disguise to gain access, and based on timing, they'd likely been in Emma's apartment, possibly installing the camera, possibly making a copy of her key, possibly both. Detectives pulled cell tower data for the area on January 28th, wanted to see what phones had pinged near Emma's building during that 40-minute window. Hundreds of phones, too many to narrow down, dead end. They refocused on the burner phone calls. Emma had been calling someone regularly, someone she trusted enough to talk to late at night, someone she felt safe reaching out to. But who? Detectives theorized Emma had noticed something off in her apartment, maybe felt watched, maybe noticed items moved, maybe had that instinct something wasn't right, and she'd reached out to someone for advice, someone with expertise in security, or surveillance, or investigations. They checked if Emma had contacted any security companies, any private investigators, any police officers she might have known personally. Found nothing. Emma hadn't reported feeling unsafe to any official channels, hadn't filed any police reports, hadn't hired any security professionals. So who was she calling? And why did she need a burner phone to do it? One of Emma's friends provided a potential answer. She told detectives that Emma had mentioned feeling uncomfortable at work around January, had said someone seemed to be paying too much attention to her. A client maybe, or someone from another department. The friend didn't remember specifics. Emma had mentioned it casually, hadn't seemed overly concerned, just noticed someone's behavior seemed off. Detectives went to Emma's workplace, interviewed her co-workers, her boss, asked if anyone remembered Emma mentioning feeling uncomfortable, or if anyone had noticed someone showing unusual interest in Emma. Her boss remembered. Said in early January, a new client had come in for a consultation, had requested to work specifically with Emma, had seen her portfolio online, had been very complimentary, very interested in her work. Emma had met with the client twice, both times at the office, both times professional. But Emma had mentioned afterward that something felt off. The client had asked personal questions about where she lived, where she liked to spend time, questions that seemed too personal for a business relationship. The boss couldn't remember the client's name, said the project never moved forward. The client had consulted, asked questions, then never followed up, said he'd check records. He came back with a name, Adrian Chen, or at least that's what the client had called himself. But when they pulled the intake paperwork, the address was fake. The phone number disconnected. The email bounced. Adrian Chen didn't exist. Whoever had come in for that consultation had used a false identity. But they had something. Security footage from Emma's office building, showing Adrian Chen arriving for his first consultation on January 8th, showing him meeting with Emma in a conference room, showing him leaving 90 minutes later. The footage showed a man in his early 30s, average height, average build, wearing business casual clothing, nothing distinctive, face partially obscured by a baseball cap and glasses. Deliberate concealment, but not obvious enough to draw attention at the time. Detectives compared this footage to the person in maintenance coveralls entering Emma's building. Similar build, similar height, could be the same person. Hard to confirm definitively, but possible. So the theory evolved. Adrian Chen meets with Emma at her workplace in early January, uses the consultation as a way to get close to her, to learn about her, to gain information. Emma feels uncomfortable but doesn't think much of it. Just another overly friendly client. But Adrian becomes fixated, starts following her, learns where she lives, gains access to her building in disguise on January 28th, installs the camera in her apartment, starts surveilling her, watching her, recording her. Emma realizes something is wrong, buys the burner phone on January 3rd. Wait, that doesn't match. She bought the phone before Adrian's first consultation, so she wasn't using it because of him. She was already using it for something else, or someone else. Detectives hit another wall. The timeline didn't quite fit. If Emma bought the burner phone before meeting Adrian, then who was she calling? And why? They revisited the burner phone records, those 33 calls, all to one number, all late at night. The first call was January 5th, 2 days after Emma got the phone, 3 days before Adrian's consultation. So Emma had gotten the phone for a specific purpose, to call a specific person, someone she couldn't call from her regular phone, someone secret. Detectives considered possibilities, an affair, but Emma wasn't seeing anyone besides Marcus until the breakup. A secret relationship? No evidence of that. Legal trouble? Financial issues? Nothing in her background suggested either. Then one of Emma's co-workers provided another piece. She said Emma had mentioned in December that she'd been getting strange messages online. Someone creating fake profiles, sending friend requests, messaging her. Emma had blocked them, but they kept coming back. Different accounts, same person. Emma had been annoyed but not scared. Just thought it was some internet creep. Detectives requested access to Emma's social media accounts. Her family provided passwords. Investigators found the blocked accounts. 7 different profiles, all created between November and December 2024. All had tried to contact Emma, all blocked by her. The profiles were generic, fake names, stock photos, no real information. But the messages they'd sent were revealing. Compliments on Emma's appearance, comments about her daily activities, mentions of places she'd been, like someone was watching her, tracking her movements. Emma had reported one of the accounts to the platform in December, had told them she felt harassed. The platform had removed the account, but the others kept coming. So by late December, Emma was dealing with an online stalker, someone creating fake accounts, someone who seemed to know where she'd been, what she was doing, someone watching. That's likely why Emma bought the burner phone. She was going to reach out to someone for help, someone who could advise her on how to handle this, someone with expertise. But who? Detectives couldn't trace the other burner number, couldn't identify who Emma had been calling. That person was being as careful as Emma, using untraceable technology, remaining anonymous. Then investigators got a break. Digital forensics found something in Emma's laptop, deleted browser history, recovered through forensic tools, showed Emma had been researching private investigators in late December, had visited several websites, had filled out contact forms on 2 of them. Detectives contacted both private investigation firms, asked if Emma Hartwell had reached out. One said no, never heard of her. The other said yes. They'd gotten a contact form submission from her on December 28th. Someone from their office had called her back on January 2nd, had spoken with her briefly. She'd explained she had an online stalking situation, wanted advice on how to handle it, whether she should report it to police, whether she needed professional help. The investigator who'd spoken to her said he'd recommended she document everything, keep records of the fake accounts, save screenshots of messages, consider filing a police report if the behavior escalated. He'd also given her his personal cell number, told her to call if things got worse. Detectives asked for that phone number. The investigator provided it. Detectives checked against the burner phone records. It didn't match. The number Emma had been calling from her burner phone was different, so she wasn't calling this investigator. But the investigator remembered something else. During their conversation, Emma had mentioned she was also going to reach out to someone else, someone who specialized in cyberstalking cases, someone who'd been recommended by a friend. The investigator didn't remember the name, just that Emma said she'd gotten a referral. Detectives went back to Emma's friends, asked if anyone had referred her to a cyberstalking specialist, to a security expert, to anyone who might have helped with her situation. One friend remembered, said in late December, Emma had mentioned the online stalking, had said it was creeping her out. The friend had recommended someone, a guy she knew who worked in tech security, who helped people deal with online harassment, who understood cyberstalking. The friend had given Emma his contact information. The friend provided the name, David Wu, tech security consultant, worked independently, helped victims of cyberstalking. The friend had his number, gave it to detectives. Detectives ran David Wu, found him, legitimate professional, licensed, no criminal record, specialized in helping stalking victims, taught classes on online safety. They contacted him, asked if Emma Hartwell had reached out. He confirmed. Yes. Emma had called him in early January, had explained her situation, the fake social media accounts, the feeling of being watched online. He'd agreed to help her, had told her to get a burner phone, to use it to communicate with him, to keep their conversations off her regular devices in case the stalker had access to them. David Wu became a person of interest. He'd been in contact with Emma, had advised her to get a burner phone, had been talking to her regularly. Those 33 calls had been to him. Detectives brought him in, questioned him, asked about his relationship with Emma, what they'd discussed, what he'd been helping her with. David explained. Emma had contacted him on January 4th, had told him about the online stalking, the fake accounts, the creepy messages. He'd advised her to document everything, to change her passwords, to enable two-factor authentication on all accounts, to be careful about what she shared online. He'd also told her to get a burner phone, to use it to contact him. He'd explain his reasoning. If the stalker had compromised Emma's devices, using her regular phone to discuss her security concerns could tip the stalker off. The burner phone kept their communications private. Over the next 6 weeks, Emma had called David regularly, always late at night, from her bedroom. She'd update him on the situation. He'd provide advice. They'd strategize on how to identify the stalker, how to gather evidence, how to eventually report to authorities once they had enough information. David said Emma had been scared but handling it. She'd been following his advice, documenting everything, being careful. Then in mid-February, she'd told him the stalking was escalating. She was getting more fake accounts, more messages, and she'd started feeling like someone was watching her physically, not just online, like someone knew where she lived, where she went, her routines. David had told her that was a red flag. That suggested the stalker was escalating from cyber to physical. He'd advised her to file a police report immediately, to consider staying with friends, to change her routine. Emma had said she would. Their last call was February 13th, the night before she broke up with Marcus. She'd told David she was going to break up with her boyfriend the next day, in public, at a Starbucks. She wanted it to be safe, public, witnessed. David had said that was smart, had told her to call him after it was done, let him know she was okay. She never called. David said he'd tried calling her burner phone on February 15th. No answer. Tried again February 16th. No answer. He'd assumed she was busy, or had decided to handle things on her own. He didn't know she was missing until he saw the news reports on February 20th. Detectives verified David's story, checked his phone records, confirmed the 33 calls matched the burner phone records, checked his location data. He'd been in Manhattan the day Emma disappeared, but nowhere near where she was last seen. He had no connection to Red Hook, no reason to harm Emma. David Wu was helping Emma, not hurting her. He was trying to protect her from a stalker. But who was the stalker? And how did they find out about Emma's plans to break up with Marcus? Then detectives realized the hidden camera in Emma's bedroom, installed on February 1st. It had been recording Emma's late-night calls to David. The camera had no audio, but it showed Emma on the phone, showed her worried expressions, showed her pacing. And if the stalker had been reviewing that footage regularly, they would have known Emma was talking to someone, taking action, fighting back. And on February 14th, the morning of the breakup, the hidden camera would have shown Emma getting ready, getting dressed, leaving her apartment at 2:15 p.m., 30 minutes before the breakup. That's when the thumbnail showed someone in her apartment. The stalker checking the footage, seeing Emma had left, possibly planting something, or preparing something, or just confirming she was gone. Then the stalker followed Emma, watched her break up with Marcus, saw Marcus with the rose, saw Marcus drop it, saw the perfect setup, a rejected boyfriend, a public rejection, visible motive. The stalker waited, followed Emma after she left Marcus, tracked her movements, found the right moment, the right location, attacked her, killed her, placed a pink rose next to her body, making it look like Marcus's revenge. But who was the stalker? Adrian Chen at the office? The person in maintenance coveralls? The fake social media accounts? All the same person probably, but who was that person? Detectives had footage, multiple angles, but never a clear face. Always obscured, always covered, always deliberately hidden. This person knew about surveillance, knew how to avoid being identified, knew what they were doing. The case went cold, despite the evidence, despite the cameras, despite Emma's precautions. The stalker remained unidentified, remained free. The case remains open, unsolved. Emma's family waiting for answers, waiting for justice. If this case affected you, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, share your theories. Because someone out there knows who Adrian Chen really was. Someone saw something. Someone knows something. This channel covers real cases, real investigations, real victims who deserve justice. Hit like if you think Emma's story needs to be solved. Share if you think someone might recognize these details. Emma Hartwell did everything right. She documented the stalking. She reached out for help. She used a burner phone. She broke up in public. She tried to protect herself, but her stalker was sophisticated, patient, careful, and willing to kill. Someone installed that camera. Someone created those fake social media accounts. Someone posed as Adrian Chen. Someone wore maintenance coveralls. Someone followed Emma to Red Hook. Someone killed her. Someone is still out there. If you have any information about this case, contact New York Police Department. Emma's family deserves answers. Emma deserves justice. This case shows how dangerous stalking can be, how it can escalate from online to physical, how predators can be patient, can plan, can wait for the perfect moment. Emma knew she was in danger. That's why she reached out to David Wu. That's why she bought the burner phone. That's why she documented everything. She was building a case, preparing to go to authorities, but she ran out of time. Remember Emma Hartwell, 34 years old, graphic designer, lived in Manhattan, tried to protect herself from a stalker, did everything right, and still became a victim because the person stalking her was always one step ahead. Thank you for watching, for caring, for keeping Emma's story alive, because unsolved doesn't mean forgotten, and someone out there knows something. Someone saw Adrian Chen without the disguise. Someone saw the person in maintenance coveralls. Someone knows who killed Emma. This case remains open. If you have any information, please come forward. Help Emma's family get the answers they deserve. Help bring Emma's killer to justice. Emma Hartwell, victim of stalking, victim of murder. Her case unsolved but not forgotten. Her story a warning about how sophisticated and dangerous stalkers can be. Stay safe. Trust your instincts. Report stalking immediately. Don't wait. Don't handle it alone. Because Emma tried to be smart about it, and it wasn't enough. Her story matters. Her life mattered. And somewhere, someone knows who killed her. Someone has the piece that solves this case. That person needs to come forward. For Emma, for her family, for justice.